about my grandma and grandpa Olson, my father's mother and father.
Time out, hold on.
Okay, I was going to tell you a little bit about my grandma and grandpa Olson, who lived next door to us in Weston. It was my dad's mother and father, and they were from Norway, so they talked broken English. And my grandma Olson was this little proper grandma. I guess to describe her, I'll quote something my mother always told about her. She says that you should never let your husband see you in the morning without your makeup on and your lipstick and your hair combed. That's my grandma Olson. I remember she used to wear these real soft, silky scarves over her head and draped like, you know, the movie stars. She was quite a funny little lady, and she would talk this broken English that was so cute. But my grandpa Olson was a little more fun than
What
she
were their
was.
What were their first names?
Camilla and Martinez. She called him Martin. That's how she said, Martin. Martin! And they were really cute. My grandpa used to chew tobacco. He always had chewing tobacco, and he'd have this spittoon he would spit into. It was a regular big old brass spittoon. But they were really nice. He used to tell us these funny little things with kids to play with us outdoors in the yard. But when I was about fourth or fifth grade, my grandma had a stroke, and it left her paralyzed on all her left side, and so she was bedridden. So they had my aunts. They had 5 girls in their family, so they would take turns along with my dad and my Uncle Parley, who both lived in Weston. And they would come up on the weekends to relieve my dad and Uncle Parley and his wife, and my mother, of course, helping. And so my dad would go down to the train station, and it was usually late at night. They would be coming in from like California or Utah, and Matt Miller lived up in Idaho, but they'd have these lanterns, and he would light the lantern, and then he would swing it when the train comes, so they knew to stop. He'd swing it like this, back and forth. And the train would slow down and stop, and my aunt would get off, or one of my aunts, and had their little suitcase. Pretty soon we'd go on up home, and they'd get settled in their room, and it was such a fun time because I finally got to know my aunts, because my mom would go over there. My mom was quite a talker. She always talking with the neighbors, and she was a visitor. And so I would sit by their feet and just listen to stories about the olden days with them, and they would tell about their lives and what they were doing. I loved when my Aunt Edith came, because she just was hilarious. She was just the funniest lady. She had this big uproar laugh when she said something. She would just laugh and laugh, but she was a smoker. And so I'd sit and watch her smoking too. One smoked cigarette after another, smoking. Of course, you know, when you're a little kid and you never see people smoking, you sit there fascinated with her.
Yeah.
But she lived in that bed for 8 years before she died, and she had quite a slow process of death. They finally got a lady that used to come in, and they used to be our best friends too. They were just like our aunts. In fact, one of them actually married my cousin after my grandma died, Ruth Mendenhall. She was a really nice lady. She used to take care of my grandma and grandpa. My dad would go over and bathe them and take care of them that way and see that things are fixed. And she would see to their bathing, or my grandma's bathing, and she would feed them and take care of them that way. She was just there in case something happened. She was a fun lady to. We'd go over there a lot, and she'd come over to our place and visit. So we got to know her real well. That was quite a different time in our lives to have that stroke and to see what they do nowadays with stroke victims. I'm sure that she would have, if they had therapy in that, she probably would have been in that condition. But it was fun to go over there. Finally, my grandpa was confined to a wheelchair. He did have a cane for quite a while. He had a little cane, and He'd try and walk with the cane, but then finally he was confined to a wheelchair too. But it was fun living next door to your grandma and grandpa. I enjoyed that. And let's see, what else can I tell you? Take it off for a minute. Okay, when we got to go to junior high, we got to go to Dayton, to a brand new school, and it was combined with the high school. We didn't go with the high school students, but we had a lot of activities that we got to share with the high school. But they kept the junior high separate in another part of the high school, and we had to ride up on a bus to the school. It was kind of fun to go on a bus to school. We got have to be there and run to the bus. I remember a lot of times we were sure running. Thank goodness our next door neighbor was the bus driver, so he would wait for us. It was fun to have different teachers, because usually in grade school you just had the one teacher. So every class we'd go from one to the other and have different subjects that we would take, and I enjoyed that and get exposed to more subjects. We had homemaking, woodshop, and of course we had the standards. We had algebra and math, sciences, history, all those things, English. But, had some great teachers. A lot of them were my neighbors. Brother Palmer was one of my teachers. He was the next door neighbor, and Brother Porter. I guess I shouldn't call them brothers. They were Mr. Porter, Lyle Porter. That was Calvin's dad, and Brother Palmer was Judy's dad. Some of my best friends, so I had them for teachers. One was English and one was a history teacher. And, we got to go to the sporting events and do things like that. And we used to have assemblies, and so I did
I had my turn.
a lot of dancing and singing. So my friend and I used to perform at the assemblies all the time. They'd get us to do some singing and dancing, so we'd wear some of our costumes, or else we'd come up with some. Like I remember one we did 5'2" Eyes of Blue. We put on some costumes for that. So we had a lot of fun doing things in high school. I started dating in high school. I had or junior high. I remember one date. I wasn't too interested in the boys. I got a date with this dance, and I was out with the bonfire. It must have been in the fall because we were burning leaves or something, roasting hot dogs and marshmallows. And my mother says, "Tamara, you got to come in and get ready for this date. They're going to be here any minute." And he had his parents drive us, so that was really fun, wasn't it? Anyway, I didn't want to go, but I thought, okay, I better go get ready. And I remember the dress and everything, with the smoke in my hair, spraying on perfume and deodorant, the whole bit, throwing on this dress we used to wear in those days, which was very popular. We would have 3 or 4 net petticoats underneath, and we'd starch them so that the skirts would stand out, and then you'd have round scoop necks, and then you'd have a real tight waist, and then it would flare out. We'd have a real full skirt over those petticoats. I remember the dress was white with some little gray and black flowers and really tiny ones. It was just a really beautiful dress. So I put that on, and here I was. So the kid come to the door. I think what his name was, Mortensen. That's what it was, Grant Mortensen. That was his name. And in fact, his dad was the stake president of another stake. And they were asking me all these things, and I say yes, no, yes, no. Trying to get me to talk, I guess.
The non-talker that she is.
So we went to the dance, and you know, when we used to dance, we would dance slow dancing at first. They didn't have all the jitterbug and that. They started a little later on, and we'd go in a circle, around and around and around. Pretty soon your one hip was hurting like crazy. We didn't talk much because we were both embarrassed to death being on first dates. So finally, when the night came, we got back in his mother and dad's car, and they drove us home. And I'll never forget this. I'll never forget this. I got out of, he just says, you know, you think, I wonder if he's going to kiss me at the door or something. You know, I don't want him to do that. So when we got there, I says, well, thanks for the date. And I opened the door and ran up the steps. I didn't even wait for him to open the door or anything.
Especially
Who
with
was
That was my first date.
That was
I
Daryl?
think it was about 7th grade.
Did you go out with him again?
Oh, probably not.
I guess he had to get his parents' approval for everything.